Hello, what is up, everyone? This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're now listening to the Powercast. And today we will be recapping Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Season 4, Episode 5. And the title of this episode is The Nail That Sticks Up. And I'm joined today by Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. How are you doing today, Richard?
Doing good, Gary. What's up, listeners and viewers?
Yeah, what's up indeed? And I am also joined by Miss Dana Abercrombie. How are you doing today, Dana?
I am very excited. Another week of the Kanan that is raising.
Oh yeah, raising. Yeah. One person who won't be raising is famous because sadly he's out of here. It's confirmed. And I do want to give props to Dana because she did call it actually a couple episodes ago that Famous is already dead and he died off screen. So, Dana kind of called it. So shouts to you, Dana, on that. Go ahead.
Thank you. I did have one thing that was wrong. I said river. Instead it was mattress.
Oh yeah, mattress.
So, and I really, during that scene, I was expecting that we would get like in the wall, because remember the wire? When they was putting them bodies in the wall, the scoop was like, oh, remember she bought that gun? That wasn't the gun with the nail gun? And then she was nailing people in the walls and then also shoot them in the head with the nail gun? So I was like, oh, they're going to do the same thing with Famous. But no, they did the mattress. I didn't see the mattress coming.
Yeah. Yeah, none of us saw that part coming, but yeah, it was well called by you on him dying off screen and stuff. So well done. But yeah, so that was one of many things that happened on this episode. So there is a lot to talk about. And yeah, just big shouts to all the people, dropping comments and supporting the show and everything like that. Just want to give a quick shout outs to all the people because I love seeing the comments every single week. So please do like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your comments below. Let us know what you thought of this episode. Let us know your hot takes, your takeaways, and what you think is going to happen, in the next episode or beyond the next episode. So please do that, right now. And we'll get right into our takeaways. And this week it is Dana's turn to go first. So Dana, when you're ready, hit us with your takeaways.
Okay, I'm ready. I was excited about this. Okay, so I want to start from the very beginning. And by very beginning, this means the actual title. Because I was driving myself crazy about the title. I said, the nail that sticks up. What does that mean? Is that like, did he step on the nail? What is going on? Is it a rusty nail? Does he need a tetanus shot? Is it diseased? And then, English major. I'm a very annoying English major. I remembered the Japanese proverb that goes, and this is the full sentence of the nail, okay? It goes, the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. What does that mean? So, what the entire proverb is basically saying is that it's better to blend in than to stand out and be subjected to criticism. That is how you end up getting found out. That is how, you end up murdered, essentially. And how does this relate to this episode? Famous. Famous is the kind of person where we saw his best friend was Kanan. Average boys, nothing really too complicated going on. But then Famous started making music. Famous started catching bodies. Famous started writing about the bodies that he caught. And it wasn't like, here's my little poem book where I'm keeping these songs to myself. Or even if you're recording the songs, I'm keeping these songs for myself. They got released to the public. And therefore, he no longer blended in with society. He was the nail that stuck up. And that is what ends up causing his entire downfall, was his death. That we finally get at the end where it is confirmed. He was working with the FBI. Remember the mom said? He was talking to y'all. He was making plans. And therefore, the block started talking, and everyone throughout this whole season, in this episode especially, what happened to Famous? Oh yeah, that's that kid. Remember we had multiple different theories within the show of what happened with Ned Kanan, what happened with Famous. And the point is that once you start getting your business too much in the public, you start to stick out. So that is why I absolutely love this title. Now, I'm not saying that was the writer's intention. I sure hope so, and I wasn't stretching, but I'm going to give you some credit that you probably didn't even know you did. So, congratulations to the people who already wrote the titles for this episode. Um, so, obviously, I wanted to talk about the part of remembering. And this was a very emotional episode, not just for Kanan, but I have to give it to 50 Cent because his voiceovers have always been solid. But this one, even with just a simple narration, I felt the pain and the break in his heart. That coupled with Makai, who plays Kanan, and his acting skills, this was chef's kiss. So this whole thing was about remembering, and it was saying the thing about remembering, it's not what we've seen or heard, it's what you're feeling too, and those feelings hit hard because that's what memories are. Remembering comes from the heart, not the head. Good memories keep you warm at night. Bad memories will grab you by your throat, cut off your air. Remembering can hurt you just as it did when it happened for real. So that's why people always say, oh my God, trigger warning. I don't like trigger. It's because the memories will put you back into that place and will hit you, especially even harder than what it is. So that's why we have, oh my God, trigger warnings. But that's not the point of what I'm trying to say. The whole thing with the built of memories and how we can remember things, how it happened, and also how we can remember it differently than what had happened. And I also want to talk about what we have with the whole Mama Joyce situation, because that was one of the things that stuck out. Where she did ask Marvin, you know, I can't take this cancer anymore. It's too much. It's too painful. Can you please kill me? And that's a heavy load. I think that that's personally, I believe that that is too much to ask for someone. Now, if I hate you, hey, I have no problem. I'm gonna do it even if you don't ask. But especially someone as your mother. And I felt like that you can argue whether or not it's selfish or selfless, but I don't think that that was appropriate to ask your kids, especially when you have that kind of relationship where it is remembered differently than you do. Now, whether or not that actually happened, we don't know, but we got all three of them saying, hey, she wasn't peachy. She wasn't the kind of mom who would, give you a hug and kiss your boo boo. She was the cold, distant kind. And Marvin, even though he was the oldest, he had to experience that at a much longer time, but he still had that sympathy where it was, I'm going to do exactly what you asked. And then we had that image, that very quick moment of her saying, was he pulling out the bottle full of morphine to overdose her and kill her? She's looking at him like, what, just disgust. You disgust me. What are you doing? It's terrible. And I don't think that it was the fact that he had the morphine. I think sometimes when you're at death's door and when you have cancer, you start, what is that word, hallucinating, and you start remembering. It's kind of like dementia where you replace that person with something else. And I honestly think that she was going back in her memories and seeing him doing something differently that could have been when he was a kid. Because we do remember Rock did said he was abusive, physically, emotionally, verbally. And I think that that is what she was saying, and not so much of the morphine. I don't think she really knew what was happening in that moment. When that pain started hitting, and you're in those last stages, that is what I think happened. And you saw the effect of Marvin. Marvin was just completely, it was like someone slapped him in the face. And Marvin took a lot of the emotional, as well as Kanan, he also had a lot of emotional toll as well with not just what happened with his mother, but also with realizing Jukebox may be a little bit psychopathic. Now we know who Jukebox is, as an adult, but when they had the conversation and saying, are you okay? That kind of thing, you tends to get into people's head. We can always talk about it. She was like, nah, I'm good. I'm great, in fact. That woman was about, she was like close to skipping around in the house and singing songs and, starting a one woman show of butter because she was just so cool with everything to the point where it really did. It looked like it scared Marvin because they had the whole thing was like, oh, if are you okay with this whole shooting? And she was, essentially said that she was fine, but the exact wording was something along those lines of like, hey, that moment right there, basically saying I was built for this, and no matter what happened, whether or not we had a shooting, I think I would have been fine either way. Because he was talking about, desensitize, all the military just desensitized you. He was trying to throw her a bone. She was like, nah, this is just me. I'm good. And so when he did that look, it wasn't like a, oh, okay. It was like a, oh, what did I raise kind of look. Oh no, I'm scared. He looked a little bit scared. He looked like Kanan did when Jukebox was an adult and they was talking and she went and kidnapped Tariq because he was shooketh. He was like, oh, she might kill me. So we do have that, and then also the fact that what's his face? Not Terry. Was it Terry? Terry. It wasn't Terry. It was Terry. Terry died. He killed Terry.
Yeah,
I'm gonna.
Terry.
It was Terry. So that coupled with Terry dying, I think what we're gonna not just dying. And one, he wanted to die because there were so many slick things that he kept saying. He was like, "This is death would be better than this. I'm good. Please, I can see my mother again." Um, so he was okay with that. And I think Marvin has been building up so many things because we talked about this when I interviewed London Brown. He's like, what happened to all of that training that you had with anger management? He's like, it's gone. It's completely gone. And I think he is taking a lot of the emotional brunt that's going around. And even when you take the look of him working with Stefano without telling Rock and trying to do something separately, it's taking an emotional toll on him. And I think that we're going to start seeing maybe a more depressed Marvin. I'm wondering whether or not we're going to get, because we do have the backstory of, remember he was a drug addict and it was Raquel that saved him. So I'm really wondering if we're going to start seeing his old ways because we never saw it. Really, we know that Lulu was going down the toilet as well, which it's like, oh, it's hereditary. So it's really interesting of what we could see was there, and how basically a lot of also going with the remembering thing. There were a lot of flashbacks with Famous and his mother. And they were really sweet flashbacks about here you can get the dog. It didn't start off sweet because he was getting his behind beat by I would assume it was his father, his biological father, maybe. But he was getting his behind beat by that man because his money went missing, and he was kicking and choking and slamming a lot of things. But um, you know, they got out. But there was one thing though where he came back and he was like, "I'm my toy," and he ran back in the house. Which I'm starting to wonder if this is an illusion, or not illusion, but basically, what's that word? Foreshadowing how Famous died. Famous was gonna go and was gonna escape, but he went and came back for something, and that's how he got caught in those streets, and that's how he died. And it's not to say he even died in the streets. He could have died some other place, and then they moved the body and put it, a mattress over him. But the point is, something happened. We just don't know who did it. So, it's a nice who done it thing. So we'll get back to that. And then, kind of lastly, what I wanted to mention was the fact of obviously Unique. His remembering is a bit different than what is actually going on. And CeeLo, which I don't know if that is a teenager or a grown man, but CeeLo, he's stressed. This poor person is just stressed right now. Um, he is basically working. He's a can't even say double agent. What would it be? A mole? He's just basically being threatened with death. He was kidnapped. We saw in the couple episodes before where Jukebox, not Jukebox, sorry, Unique came into the Kanan's apartment and was basically grabbed CeeLo, and now CeeLo is working for him, is basically spying on Kanan and giving that information to Unique. And Unique is like, okay, remember how he remembered everything, where he thinks that everyone, is trying to take his business and his spot, and now he is officially going after Raquel. And I think that this is when we're going to start seeing the war between him and Raquel. Raquel doesn't know that he's alive, and Quan is definitely not going to tell him. So we had this situation where Quan is legit sick and tired of Raquel because he holds Unique as like some wonderful god who honored family and everything that he loved. He just moved really slow and took all day to do everything. And when he died, he still accomplished really nothing but like a couple of things, which is why Ronnie beat him in the first place. You know what? The more I talk about it, yay for Ronnie. I'm Team Ronnie because the boy was good. Remember, I said this in season one. Why is he moving so slow? I'm tired. So, anyway, point that I'm trying to make is this: Ronnie came back to present himself to Quan, and this is him building up his army because he also, the whole thing is that he went and he spoke to the Italian guy whose name I can't remember. And the only reason why I remember that he is Italian is because they had Italian music playing in the restaurant. So he was basically saying, hey, I need your help. We're going to take out Rock. And he was like, nah, you ain't got nothing. You need an army. You need a network. You need to prove to me that you have a plan and maybe not take it slow as you did in season one. And this is when we're going to start seeing that plan come into fruition. We know that Terry loves this man as if he was the second coming of the Black Jesus. And we do know that those photos were released by that NFL player whose name I cannot remember. We talked about it during the last episode. But that NFL player who is now turned actor, please be good and better than Young Miami or whatever that child name is. Just be good, and he is going to be a part of the army. And we do know that he is someone that you don't mess with. He's kind of like the muscle. He's a little crazy. And if you get someone crazier than Unique, which would have been Ronnie, I'm here for it. So we do have this happening, and this is all solely because he's remembering things differently. Because I don't even want to say his brain injury because I had the conversation with Joey about why is he acting this way. He's saying he's still the same Unique. He's just being more brutal and quicker. So it's like, remember the tortoise and the hare? He's now, what happens if tortoise had the body and the movement of the hare? So we're getting that, finally. So that is kind of what I wanted to say at this moment. I had a couple other notes, but I think that we will touch upon that a wee bit later because this was a very, for me, interesting episode where there was a lot of setting up pieces and not so much action. We got the death of Famous, but now our next movement is who killed him. And that scene with Kanan at the end where he just was like, and this is what I said, his voiceover was amazing with 50 Cent. But we don't give him enough credit. He's crazy. There's some things that I don't like about him, especially political wise. No Bird. But what he said is, what do you want me to say? That he deserved it? He knew everything. He knew. I think he knew. Kanan knew in his heart that he was dead. But he said, what do you want me to say? That he deserved it. That fam was never built for this in the first place. I don't care about any of that. You only get one best friend in your life, and mine is dead. That hurts, and it's gonna stay hurt. So don't look to me for no words of wisdom, because I ain't got nothing for you. I'm sad. You should be too. Now leave me alone. This is the first time, I think, in the history of the Kanan, Raising Kanan, that we saw him shut down. This is the first time that I think that we're going to start getting the new Kanan that is related to the older Kanan. We're going to start seeing that bridge um, where everyone is stepping into their own light. And I mean that about the babies. Because we're getting Jukebox is a sociopath. Remember, Kanan is a sociopath too. Adult Kanan ends up being a sociopath. And I think that is this death where he really realizes that this is what he has to take. Because his entire show so far has been about building up to be someone. And remember, this season is I don't want to be my mom. I want to be seen differently. By him getting this push, even if it wasn't something that he wanted, this is when we're going to start seeing the separation of Kanan and his mama. And I think that this is when we're going to also start seeing him building his army, because he's going to go after Famous, this killer. We're going to figure out what happened. And I'm not saying this season, but next season, this is when we're going to start seeing that mentorship with Tommy and Ghost. I'm not saying that they gonna be on the show. I'm just saying we're one step closer to that relationship. Also, can we please get some breeze in this air? Because it would be very nice to get some breeze going on. But this is what I really think that we're gonna start seeing is more of that. And then also going with Jukebox, this is when it clicked on me on why Jukebox decided to be a police officer. This is when we get the blending of her not really caring about the body, because what happened when that guy was killed was, oh, it was him or you, so it just happened. So that right there, she's justifying everything. And then remember at the very end when Famous's mom sat down on the couch and it was like, it explaining what happened, and she was like, "Do you know anything?" And she was one very comforting, but I think it triggered something in her brain that was like, this was innocent person, kind of, but was still kind of an innocent person. I want to protect people, because we had that with not just with Famous, which we get in the death of Famous, but we had this with a father. So if I can do anything to protect people, I'm willing to do that. I think this is when we start to get the decision of her being a police officer, and not so much in the army, because you can be a little bit more looser with your actions as being a police officer. So who knows? Season 5 could be her in DC getting that police academy training. So I'm gonna stop talking because I've been talking too much. But that's what I have to say so far.
No, excellent thoughts. Yeah, I agree. This is like really like the turning point of seeing like a more cold Kanan and Jukebox. I think like what we're seeing currently is like the turning point that we're seeing. So yeah, I agree with that. And also with what you were saying about Marvin and how he could be spiraling like back to how he was in the past and everything like that. Like, yeah, like the character does seem like he's at risk of becoming a bit more unhinged and a danger to himself. And like he's even stopped eating snacks. Like I don't think I saw him eat many snacks this episode. Like he's different. He's changing. So so yeah, Marvin spiraling. But more on that later. First of all, we're going to get to Mr. Richard Bailey Jr., who might also have some comments about Marvin. But Richard, when you're ready, hit us with your takeaways.
Okay, so first and foremost, outstanding takeaways from Dana as always, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say about this show as well, Gary. So what I will start off by saying is, once again, I thought this was another great episode of Raising Kanan. Like Dana mentioned, I think it set up a lot of things, and this whole thing with Famous, let me just say this to start it off. Yes, to get his backstory, very, very sad, very tragic what happened to Famous. You feel even worse for the character when you see all that he's gone through as a kid, the abusive father, whether or not that's his father or someone who was stepping in as a stepfather. Just a very abusive relationship to have that whole family involved in. And then, of course, you do see in the show, he eventually does go into doing hip hop music. So what I will say that while I did agree that what Dana said, that he was dead, I did want to see how they were going to play this out. And I do agree 1000% that now it's going to be about finding out who did this. I don't know how soon we'll get that answer, whether or not that's something that happens in the next episode or it takes some time. But it feels as though Kanan and Jukebox definitely will want to get some revenge for what happened, so have to see how that plays out. But let me get into my 3 takeaways from the show this week. Let me start off with Kanan first, since we were already talking about Kanan. This episode, it was revealed that Kanan has been skimming money And you guys made the comments earlier about his very good friend or his right-hand man, O-Cee, that was he was the one, he knew about this, and he was telling Kanan, hey, you need to watch out, watch what you're doing because it impacts us. If Rock starts asking questions, it's going to be a bad look. And Kanan said, that's none of your business. Don't worry about that. I'm handling business. So I kind of feel like, obviously, when they revealed that O-Cee has been feeding information to Unique, not really surprised about that. I do want to see where they're going with that, though, because he did tell Unique that Kanan was skimming money, and Unique doesn't look at it as him stealing because, Kanan is Raquel's son. So I think he still believes they're working together, but I do want to see where they're going with that. But outside of that, Kanan and them, in addition to dealing with the stuff with Famous in this episode, they did take on the responsibility of taking Joyce to the hospital because she had fell. And I will get into it later about what I felt about some stuff that happened with her and Marvin. But yeah, pretty much Kanan in this entire episode, he has a lot that he's been having to deal with emotionally. Dana made the comments earlier about Jukebox and how she's very comfortable now with killing people. So I agree 1,000% with the point that both Dana and Gary made, that this is the turning point for both of the characters. And it makes me very curious to see how things progress with the rest of the season. But I'm looking forward to it. My second takeaway I want to get into is Marvin. Now, Dana already said a lot of great points about Marvin. When they had the scene where Marvin was in the hospital, right, and he was thinking about whether or not he was going to euthanize his mom, use the needle and stuff, I also thought to myself, yes, because they mentioned before Marvin has a past as a drug addict. I thought to myself, is this what they're going to do with this character? And I do unfortunately feel that can happen. You're going down a dark path because Marvin has a lot of things coming at him full speed ahead this entire season. He's been under a lot of pressure in various ways. So it kind of feels like they may not kill him off the show, but they may slowly break him down. And I think that would also be equally painful to watch as a fan of the character because, that can go in so many different directions. I don't know which path they're going to go, but I will say things are not looking good for Marvin. And obviously in this episode, we made the comment about the fact that he killed Terry. That is going to be a major issue moving forward. Because earlier in this episode, Raquel told Marvin to push, but not to push too hard. And she also mentioned that both Terry and David, that's the other brother, they are very important to the business because they are able to do stuff that Marvin and Raquel aren't able to do at the current moment. So the fact that Terry did get killed by Marvin, I kind of feel like David's going to have some issues with that. At some point, he may also be taken out soon. But I just feel like it's really bad. The next episode, I think it's going to be a very bad episode for their entire business. We already know that Quan is no longer working with Raquel. Raquel obviously is setting up this meeting to try to get her other stuff going with the heroin supplier and to basically be the new person to run that. And I think she's going to run into some issues now because of what happened in this episode. So we have to see what happens. Obviously, we didn't see her reaction to Marvin killing Terry yet, but I think that's definitely coming in the next episode, and she's not going to be happy about that. So stay tuned for that. But once again, to stay on Marvin for a second, the whole scene of his mom asking him to take him out, I must admit, that was very hard for me to watch that because I am an older brother. So it kind of feels as an older sibling, you take on a lot of additional responsibilities if something was to happen to your parents. So when I saw him being posed with that question, we understand that Joyce is in a lot of pain, but I definitely agree she shouldn't be asking her kids to do any of this stuff for her in terms of taking her out. It's really hard to really fully grasp and understand the concept. Because unless you are in that type of pain, you're probably not going to feel similar to what she felt. But I will say, I'm not surprised that she did ask him because they told us a lot about this character throughout the entire season. The fact that when their father committed suicide. She just wasn't there physically. She wasn't there mentally and emotionally for her kids. They all dealt with it in different ways. And then all of the drama she went through with Raquel, with some other stuff, what I feel is still unresolved. You saw the whole fact that Raquel didn't even bother coming to the hospital when Jukebox sent her the page to let her know that, mom, your mom is in trouble. She didn't bother showing up. So obviously she's put them kids through a lot. So you definitely understand that she was going to do some more trifling things. And we saw what she did in this episode, putting that pressure on Marvin. So it's a very unfortunate situation to be involved in. But I will say that I do want to see where things go from here. You can make the comment that because this happened, this was put on him right before he killed Terry. You can make the comment he has a lot going on, so this is just he lost control too much. But this entire season, Marvin has been very aggressive, beating people up left and right. Again, the anger management is gone, as Dana said. So there's a lot of stuff that he's dealing with emotionally. But I do feel as though we are watching him slowly break down. I will tell you right now, though, it's going to be a very tough watch. If he does go to drugs, that is going to be very tough to see. Because at that point, I would rather you just take the character out than to slowly have him go out that way. But we have to wait and see how they handle that. But I'm not looking forward to it if they go in that direction. And the final takeaway I want to mention is about Unique. Now, this I thought is a very interesting episode for Unique. He's still leaving money for Panessa. And you do see that she confronts Raquel later in this episode because she thinks that Raquel has been sending her this money as like guilt that she might have killed Unique. But Raquel says, no, obviously I didn't do that. Maybe he had some friends that are looking out for you. She doesn't believe that. So she probably won't go away because things are going to continue to progress with that. But as for Unique in this episode, I thought it was very interesting when he did go to the Italians and they told him that you need your own organization, that you need a plan to prove to us that you are worth working with. Now, I will say this. As Dana said, Unique this entire season is more ruthless. This is the side that we've always wanted to see from the character. So my prediction is that Unique is going to get his own organization. He is going to go back to the Italians, and he is going to take out the Italians. Because, again, you saw how angry this guy was when he got in his car? I mean, I laughed on that scene. Like, he just, hitting on this very emotional performance by Joey Badass, so props to him. But clearly, he didn't get his way. He threw a temper tantrum. And I will say, I am glad when he went to the Italians, they didn't just give him what he wanted. I think that was great. That made sense because you know how complicated his relationship was with Sal. So I like that they made reference to that. But I also like the fact that the guy who is a part of the Italian mob said, when he brought up the whole thing about Raquel trying to kill him, he said, I didn't hear anything about Raquel trying to kill you. And he's like, how would you know any of this stuff? You don't even live on that side of town. So I like that he made that comment where someone is actually starting to question Unique. Do you have this whole story correct about them turning on you? And I think that it's going to be very interesting to see where they go with that. But I like that they did put that in the actual episode. And as I mentioned, he did basically talk to O-Cee, try to get information. And at the end of this episode, he does reveal himself to Quan. And Quan had already mentioned that, yes, he likes Unique because Unique is like him. So I do agree with what Dana said. Quan is definitely going to help Unique get elevated. The next episode, I expect them to really, really do what they can to take over them corners and, put Raquel and Marvin in more trouble business-wise. So we have to see where they're going with that. But overall, I thought this was a great episode of Raising Kanan. I'm going to make this last comment before I go to Gary. You may question my name on the screen in reference to RISD. Well, I just want to let you know, I actually went to RISD, class in 2004. I studied film, animation, and video. So I was very surprised they brought that reference up. I thought that was a very cool reference. So shout outs to them. But yeah, looking forward to seeing what happens from here on out. But yeah, overall, a great episode of Raising Kanan. And just looking forward to seeing what happens next.
Oh yeah, shouts to RISD. Yeah, excellent takeaways as usual. Um, and yeah, I mean, a lot of what you said is in my takeaways too. I do like that the Italian scene where there was some pushback there on both sides. Like Unique got aggressive with them, and also like they're like, "Do you have your story straight? Because we didn't hear anything about you know Raquel getting at you and stuff like that." So I do like that it wasn't a straightforward conversation, and there was a lot of pushback there. So that was cool to see. But yeah, excellent observations as always. So yeah, I'll get right into my takeaways now. So as you both said as well, I believe that that we could be seeing the downfall of Marvin this season. Um, just the way things are playing out. And that quote that Jukebox said to Marvin when she was kind of like assisting him with his injuries and stuff, it was very powerful because so the way it went, it was like Marvin said to Jukebox, he said, maybe the army got you comfortable killing people, and then Jukebox replied, if I'm comfortable with it, it's not because of the army. Yeah, she said it's that's the line. If I'm comfortable with it, it's not because of the army. So that was a deep line right there because it's like it wasn't the army that made me comfortable with killing people. It's everything I've seen up to this point in the family. It's you killing people. It's Raquel. Is Lulu. All the death around her that she's seen all of these years got her comfortable. And yeah, like that line cut deep. And then one of the challenges for Marvin in this episode is that he's confronted with his mother's death situation, her health and everything, and she asks him if she'll help her with her suffering by putting her out of her misery. She asks him to give her the morphine and everything like that, and we see that in Marvin's mind, he's kind of like thinking about it. He's actually thinking about going through with the plan and everything, even though you can see it kind of hurts him to even consider it. But then, later on, he's like, sorry, I can't do it. Basically, like he tells her, you know, after thinking deeply about it, he's like, sorry, I can't, I actually can't do this. And then her response to that was basically like gal of my sight, I can't bear to look at you. And you can see that hit him deeply because it's like what we know about his past is like he's kind of insecure about like being the one who messed up in the family, like the screw job of the family. Basically, like he kind of screws up. He got hooked on drugs, and he's just like the one in the family who's always messed up, basically. And you could see those insecurities kind of come out at that point in time. And it's like that's the way that she views him. Like he's the one that's always messing up, basically, and he can't do anything right. Now she does start to kind of apologize, but usually, the first response is like how you honestly feel. So like that kind of cuts deep for Marvin. So I think that deep down, the reason why Marvin goes the reason why he's such a writer for Raquel is because he's trying to deal with that insecurity. He's trying to be the one that can be depended on. And he's doing it for Raquel because, Raquel is the brains of the family, essentially. Like she definitely carries the family. She has the cunning. She has like, the she's a thinker. She knows how to think through things and get them through hard times and problems and everything. So I think he finds his own comfort in assisting her and being dependable for her. But this is going to catch up to him. It's going to catch up to him because he is getting a bit reckless about things like killing Terry in the warehouse. Now I mean, you could make an argument that it was the right move because if Terry's talking about, talking to the feds or whatever, they're already in a vulnerable position right now. With Andre dead, and then the feds sniffing around, and they kind of just got out of a case, like they just got free of the case that was on them in the last season. So he's playing he I guess he's thinking strategically about it, and he's like, it makes sense to take him out. But I do think that that is one murder that is going to cost him. Of course, there's been others throughout the season already that could catch up to him too. But yeah, it's like we're just kind of seeing him become more and more unhinged. And then there's still the ties to Stefano and everything. I really think that, this by the end of this season, either he's going to be in a position where he has to take the fall for the family, from a legal perspective, or he might spiral out of control. He might go back to his old ways and end up, hooked on drugs. Like Dana said, it's hereditary. It's, the addiction is in the family because Lulu was addicted to alcohol. We know that Marvin was addicted to drugs before, so it's like that kind of addiction is kind of, it's in the family. Like they get addicted. I think maybe there was something with the father as well, but yeah. So he he might end up being a danger to himself, and then if the mother does pass away, that is going to be something that affects everyone, like in a big way. Like it's going to have an effect on Marvin, it's going to have an effect on Raquel, Lou, even Kanan and Jukebox. Like, so, it's going to hit them all. So yeah, it's not looking good for Marvin because, every week his problems just seem to get deeper and deeper, and he's starting to be in too deep at this point. So that's the first point I wanted to make. Second point is about Unique, and pretty much, everything Richard said is what I wanted to say also. But Unique definitely hit a roadblock in this episode. His plan to team up with the mob didn't work, and he's now, in a position where he has to kind of build a crew and kind of prove himself and earn his spot again. He's been comfortable so far, just being in the shadows, basically being like Batman, like just sticking to the shadows and popping up here and there, people not knowing he even exists. But now we're reaching a turning point where that has to change. And we see that in this episode, he actually pulls up on Quan and reveals that he is alive. So I think that's the first of many. Obviously the mob already knows too, but yeah, I think him revealing himself to Quan, who is directly involved with Raquel, in terms of business and stuff, that is like the turning point. And for 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 Unique to build a crew, he kind of has to put himself out there now, like because there's only so long now that he can continue to be in the shadows. Um, and I do believe that after Panessa pulled up on Raquel and basically accused her of giving her blood money or whatever, like for she kind of accused her of killing Unique and feeling guilty about it, and then giving her money for it. So after that happens, I think that's probably one of the biggest clues that Raquel could get about what's been going on. Like, because who would have left that money for Panessa? So I think that's a big clue that Raquel has now to figure out what's really going on. And if Unique does start making moves in the streets, getting a team together, I don't think it's going to take long for Raquel to figure out, that he's back, basically. So I think, we're reaching that point now where this has to happen. They have to find out who the enemy is. You also have the situation with Kanan where, he used O-Cee to get information from Kanan. And, that could be something that Kanan finds out about too. If he sees O-Cee with Unique or something in a car, or or he briefly sees O-Cee getting in a car and Unique driving away, and he's like, "Wait, who's that?" Like, so at this point, yeah, I think we're reaching that turning point of Unique being exposed, and we're past the halfway mark of the season now. And my worry with this whole Unique story is that if it's revealed too late, then I feel like the ending of the season is either going to feel rushed. Let's assume that somebody dies at the end, right? It's going to feel rushed if they leave the reveal too late, or it's going to end on a cliffhanger of some sorts. So, that's kind of my worry with it a little bit. So I'm hoping that we actually, get to the point next week where they find out Unique is alive, and they're kind of, the war kind of starts, I guess, if you will. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But definitely some interesting stuff with Unique's character in this episode. And so the final takeaway is going to be, has to be about the famous thing. The famous, story. We finally got our answer. They were kind of building up the mystery of where Famous was and what happened to him. I will say it started out like very well developed. I like that they took it back to show the history of Famous and his sister, and showing the abuse that they experienced and stuff from, I don't know if it was their biological dad or if it was like a stepdad or something, but yeah, that showing that was deep. It was a nice little setup of build up to everything. And then the actual reveal of Famous being dead. It was creative. I'll give them that, because they had the kid that we don't really know going into the liquor store, and then that whole sequence, and then he runs and then he finds the body. Like that was cool. It was something new, something different. Seeing like another character, another situation, and then it just randomly leads to what happened to Famous. But it also is a little lackluster. But I'm gonna shoot them some bail on that, because I think probably something happened behind the scenes. I don't know, maybe there was a reason why this whole death angle was handled like this. I don't know. But I'm shooting them some bail on that, like on it being a bit lackluster. But still it's not about the death itself. It's about how it affects the story. Go ahead, Rich. You were to jump in.
I was going to ask, is that going to be one of the questions that you have? Because I do have a comment to make about that as well. So
yeah, we can get to that after.
Okay, yeah, I'll ask that later. Continue.
Well, Dana, you wanted to say something as well?
I just want to say that you were over dramatical for no reason, and that was a perfect ending and a perfect death. What did you want to see? The man's head get blown off?
Yeah.
We still don't know how he died. We're still in all our flashes. Y'all crazy. See, y'all have been desensitized. When you want to see full-blown heads getting blown off and crack pipes being broken so they can be stabbed in people's necks. That's what's wrong. I thought it was a lovely ending because it was mystery. We don't know what happened. And they considered him trash because they put him all the way in the alley with the dirty mattress. Mattress has blood and pee and poop all over it.
Oh yeah, I actually like the mystery element to it, and that's not what my complaint is about. I didn't want to see it happen, but we'll get into it. We'll get into it later. I do have a comment to make, but we'll save that for later.
Say it now, because the
only thing I want to mention is that I don't know if there was something that happened behind the scenes. If it is what it is. But I just think it's interesting how we didn't see Famous's actual face. You didn't see to know that the character is dead. You just saw there was somebody there, and I think that's interesting because anytime in the Power show you see someone dead and they basically do the ID to ID the body, they have shown the person's actual body. That's why I was like, okay, So clearly, if there was something that happened, the actor that plays Famous is just did not show up. He just is not a part of this season whatsoever. Because the scene that they had with him talking to his mom, that was from last season. So that was my only thing. I thought you would have saw him to confirm, but it is what it is. But continue.
That's mainly why I said that, because we didn't see it fully and stuff but yeah, I understand what Dana's saying too. Artistically they handled it well as well. If there was a limitation there, they actually did a good job, with that limitation. Well, so I get what Dana's saying too.
I agree, but I will say that the story about what happened to Famous, that needs to be, we got to get all the details on that. If there's a reason why you can't see his face, okay, I need to know that they got to really explain that. They don't need to show it, but they need to explain why they couldn't ID him, why we weren't able to see that. Because again, go back to Power. Kanan, we saw Kanan dead on the death table. We saw Sax dead on the death table. That's the only point I'm saying. I would have preferred to get that confirmation. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that thinks that, but I'll be curious to hear what the commenters say, whether or not they agree or disagree.
Yeah, we didn't see Ghost there because he's still alive. But yeah. Go ahead, Dana.
When a corpse is rotting for 3 months, what do you want to see? The maggots pouring out of his face? The eyes not there anymore? It wasn't killed like an hour ago. He was killed 3 months ago. That's why they're waiting for dental records. They let you know there's really nothing to identify. It's all ooze.
Yeah, I know.
He's been decomposing for 3 months. Stop it. Not everybody needs to be seen. The fact that you had the mama going, that right there is an ID. That right there lets you know he did.
Yeah.
That's a magical thing where I shot you and then we never see the body. She's screaming hysterical. He's on the morgue, decomposed for 3 months. We don't need nothing else. It's gone.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. And yeah, for me, it's just about how they handle it now. I think how does this affect the story? How does this affect the characters? And what I do want to say as well, as the kind of final part of my takeaways, Mekhi Curtis really sold it well with his reaction, with his reacting to the death at the end and him kind of breaking down and stuff, because we're used to Kanan being this kind of strong character, especially he's very strong for his age emotionally and everything, despite what he's seen and what he's been through and stuff. So seeing him breaking down like that over his best friend and then, 50s voiceover like Dana was talking about, yeah, that was very powerful to see because you see how deep this affected the character. And this is probably going to be one of those things that makes him colder. And it kind of makes me wonder if he does find out O-Cee is betraying him, will this kind of affect how he handles that situation now? Will this make him feel like the coldness inside of him? Will he be like, you know what, this ain't my real friend? And then maybe it makes him kill O-Cee or something, just, who knows? I want to see how this really affects him moving forward at this point and also affects the story. So yeah, I think it's all about how they handle it now, how they make it meaningful and stuff like that, I think. And there's the whole Lulu angle to it as well that they can explore. So yeah, that's my takeaways. I also did want to give a shout outs to DNA, which is why I got that in my tag down there. So let me explain who DNA is. DNA is a battle rapper from Queens, New York. I've been watching him for over 15 years. He first started battling in a battle league called Grind Time, and then he battled on URL. And now he's in Power. He was one of the dudes in that rap group that Lulu and is it Amani? I always forget her name. Yeah, go ahead, Rich. You were going to say?
Yeah, because you just brought it up. I didn't want to interrupt you. This is the last time I interrupt you, Gary.
Yeah.
That drawdown group was absolute fire. That was an excellent performance. I forgot about Famous when I heard them. I'm like, damn, these guys are phenomenal.
Yeah, spitting that hot fire. But yeah, just shouts to DNA because it's I've been seeing like his whole career as like a battle rapper, and then like he was actually recapping Power but rapping it in on Instagram and stuff, and then that blew up and got so popular that he actually got hired and put in the show, because this is the second time he's been in the show. He was in it last season too, performing at the club, and now he's in this show as part of that group. So big shout outs to DNA, the battle rapper, and everything. And yeah, that's my takeaways. So we'll get right into the discussions now. So before I carry on, Richard, was that everything you wanted to say about Famous, or was there more?
Oh no, that's I'm totally fine with whatever they're going to do with Famous' storyline. I understand what the points are that Dana made. I'm cool with that. I just want, when they reveal who did this, it needs to make sense, because I want to know who in the neighborhood, who would do something so horrible to somebody. That has to be a really sick individual, right? It's not just he just gets shot out on the streets. There's got to be more to that. So I definitely want to see how they tell the rest of that story. That's my main thing. The execution of that is what I need to see. But yeah, that's all I had to say.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Omar was taken out by a 5-year-old in the grocery store. So who's to say that can't happen to Famous? Or maybe it's like the streets do need a body. Boom. And that's it. And you're like, who's that? Shaquita down the street? Who's to say? I don't know. But I just want to say one thing, and that is to Gary, that the point that he made about the reason why Jukebox is desensitized was because of the family. And I didn't put that into perspective when I made that analysis, because I'm like, oh, she's a psychopath. It's like, no, it's the environment in which she was raised. So kudos and round of applause to Gary. And now I think this entire family is going to be the downfall of everything. And what is to say they don't all die or end up in prison? I think I would prefer that better. Except for obviously, we know Jukebox and Kanan makes it out. But Kanan has to break away. Jukebox, we know, breaks away because of DC. But I think that is actually because we haven't seen the true downfall of an entire family. And I think that would work. So that's what I want.
Yeah. Like, there is going to be a downfall, I think. And it really makes me curious of the direction of Power Origins once that starts, because I do believe Kanan will be in that show, but will his family be? I think Kanan and Jukebox probably will be, but like, will his family be in that show? That's a real question now that we have to ask. Like, will they be around for it? Will they still be alive? So yeah. Any thoughts on that, Richard? Do you think the family's going to make it to that show?
There could be some, I don't know. The show was really focused on Tommy and Ghost, I would say, but they could always make an appearance in one episode or so if they are alive. Because like Dana said, this could be the downfall of the entire family. So I don't know, but it really should focus on Kanan and building the relationship with Ghost and Tommy, because they are really the stars of the show. So we have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of the family, right? Raquel is out making boss moves, of course. She's trying to set up this deal to take over. We saw her have that meeting, where she tried to make it clear, like, look, I'm in control of this. You want me to have a meeting so that you can see that there's unity in Queens and that we're all aligned and we're all going to get money together. Which kind of reminds me of like the co-op in The Wire, where they all the drug dealers kind of teamed up to kind of share the package and handle any problems that they experience and stuff like that as a collective. it seems like, that's what the Connect wants. He wants to see that, okay, these people are united. There's not going to be any beef. There's not going to be any, attention from authorities and stuff because they're killing each other. So he wants a safe investment. He wants to know that if he chooses to, align himself with Raquel, there's not going to be any problems. There's not going to be any pushback or any war in the streets or anything of that nature that's going to bring attention to him. So now Raquel has to set up this meeting. And I wanted to ask you guys, who do you think is going to be at this meeting? And who is there going to be any problems at this meeting when Raquel tries to set this up? Because off the top of the head, I'm thinking, Snap and Pops might be there. Quan might be there. I don't know. She might get Stefano or something. But yeah, well, who do you think is going to be at this meeting, and is Raquel going to be able to keep it in control? Because she made it clear that she is the one that's in charge, but the other people might not have the same idea. They probably don't want Raquel in charge. So, what do you think, might happen? Is there going to be a power struggle of some sort? So, go ahead, Richard. What do you think about that? Please.
Well, that's a very interesting question, Gary. I personally think that meeting is not going to happen because Raquel still needs to have a reaction as to what happened to Terry in the next episode. And I kind of feel like there's going to be a lot of concern about the other brother now, David, I believe I said his name is. So I think when the next episode is going to probably things are going to start to come together where like she's going to be going to that meeting. Then she gets the word about what happened with Terry. She has to confront Marvin about this situation. And she's going to give Marvin a very hard time because, again, she told him to push, but not to push too hard. And clearly there's going to be some type of pay to come from that because the other guy, David, has been cooperative. He obviously is very scared of Marvin and Raquel. So it makes me curious to see what's going to happen from here on out. Now, if the meeting were to happen, because it could still happen, it definitely will not go the way that they think it's going to go. The thing is this, you made the comment, Gary, that I think it was very clear by the end of this episode, Quan and Raquel not working together anymore. At least that's how I got the conversation. And I think that what could end up happening is Quan will show up to that meeting with Unique. And instead of Raquel being able to take over, this is how Unique takes over and has all product in the corners and everything else. I can see that happening now because clearly Raquel and Quan, I'm going to say they're not on the same page anymore. If Snaps and Pop were to show up, I kind of think they're not going to show up. Stefano, yeah, maybe Stefano. But it's hard for me to determine. Obviously, I know that Stefano is more believable that he could show up because Raquel has already been talking to him about what she wanted to do. So he can be the one to back her. But the thing is, Quan would not back her because he doesn't trust her. He doesn't think that she is loyal. So I do want to see where they're going with that. But I do think the fact that Unique is there, and I would laugh if they reveal in the next episode Raquel doesn't make it to the meeting, but Unique does. And then she finds it at the end of the episode, oh, Unique is alive. I will be laughing. The next time we record, I will be laughing for that entire broadcast if that's how they decide to do that. But I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, that's a good call right there. Unique showing up because that's one thing I was thinking of. Like if Quan becomes privy to this meeting, then that's a card he can play of like, Unique is here. Maybe he could even go to the Connect and be like, Raquel is the one responsible for trying to kill this guy, so you shouldn't trust her and stuff like that. Like, there could be all sorts of things going on there. But Dana, what's your thoughts?
I think it's very important to pay attention to Quan at this moment because we do know that he met with whatchamacallit, Unique, And to him, that's his black Jesus. So if he starts all of a sudden, I apologize, let's work together, somehow makes it to this whole meeting thing, Raquel is screwed. Because anything that Quan does, he's going to report back to Unique to sabotage this deal in this meeting. So I think that we're going to probably end up seeing Quan. It would make the most sense. Obviously, we're going to also see Stefano. And I feel that maybe this might be Stefano's last season. And I do believe that it could come at the hands of Unique. It would be really interesting if he goes full Godfather at this meeting, and this is how he reveals himself, and he takes everyone out, but not Raquel. And this ends up into a big showdown thing. But this is just me, wanting to be dramatical. But I do feel that Quan could be very easily the wild card in this entire situation. In terms of who's going to be at this meeting, we know, I think that's the Italians. Remember also the guy that Unique went to go see? He may not be in the meeting, but he's going to know of the meeting and know what happened because his whole thing was, I may not be over at Southside, but I have ears and I can see and hear and know what's going on. So that should be very interesting. Obviously, we're going to get Stefano because he just loves himself some Raquel, just in general. I don't know who else would be at this meeting. Um, I just don't know the whole situation with the fact that Terry is now dead, kind of going off with Richard. Who's to say that the meeting is going to happen? Because the allies just may not be allying, because everyone that CCOC was saying is dropping dead. I don't know, by the way, what Terry was trying to do with that entire speech and monologue. I was wondering, like, did he want to die? The whole thing? Because you just don't talk reckless like that. You do whatever it is you're going to do, but you don't start acting crazy. And he was acting crazy. But yeah, I see this being a very small meeting because the entire point of Unique this season was to screw up any kind of business deals that Raquel has. So this might be something that's really tiny, maybe three heads. We got the Afghans, so the Afghans, Stefano, and then we'll pay attention to what Quan doing. Quan might show up, and that doesn't mean good, but that could be it. Yep. And Snaps and Pops, I don't trust them either, only because we knew that from the last season. It was like, we need more. And they're already working with their son, but they don't know that they're working with the son unless it's like another betrayal moment where it's like some kind of civil war that ends up happening and they just completely Tony Stark Raquel. I just don't know.
Yeah, that's another part of it I wanted to mention as well, because we know that Kanan is kind of stealing in a way from his mother. He's kind of holding on to money that he owes her and stuff like that. So it kind of seems like he's stacking his money up for something to make some kind of play. So that he's definitely got his mindset is basically, I want to run this. I want to be my own person. I don't want to be under my mother's shadow. So, with a mindset like that, he's in a, very dangerous position to Raquel right now because he could totally undermine her and make some sort of power play. But Unique is kind of in the way of that at the moment, I think, because Unique is the one that's making all the power plays. So however Kanan fits into that, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, where he's aligned by, within the next few episodes. It's going to be interesting to see where he aligns himself. Go ahead.
But I wonder one thing though. I wonder because of Famous, this is priority shift. So we all know he was doing the money in order to build his own little thing. And also he still has to pay Snaps and Pops. They let that one payment go. But I was wondering, is that like for all future payments? I don't think so. But also kind of on top of that, um, the fact that Unique is making moves against him as well. Forget the fact that we have that picture that came out. Everybody is trying to build their own army at this moment. And they don't, well, Kanan is trying to go against Raquel, and Raquel doesn't know. And at the same time, Unique is going after Raquel, and Raquel doesn't know. So I'm just kind of wondering with that happening, and it snaps and pops in the balance of them not knowing but knowing things and keeping things also away from Raquel. I just don't. This is going to be like a very complicated thing. But with Famous now being dead, is he going to pull all his resources to finding his killer? Because you saw how that ending. This wasn't like some random person that you met down the street. He's known him since kindergarten, and I think that will take more priority than what Raquel is going on right now. What Raquel has in terms of I want to go after my mother and be better than her. So I'm wondering if we get that, or maybe Kanan is also one of the people who ends up being at the head of the table for this one moment. There's a truce. I don't know.
Yeah, you make a good point. I do think Kanan is going to be dealing with the aftermath of finding out about Famous's death. He's probably going to want some kind of revenge or to find out what really happened. So his head might not be in the game for a little while, and maybe he'll take his eyes off the prize in terms of like the drug trade and everything, and then that's probably when this whole meeting stuff happens. So I do think that Kanan will be a bit distracted for now, probably.
But, he did say, "Leave me alone." I don't see him making any fun. So even coming at the table with his mother, I don't even really see that happening. The man said, "Leave me alone. I don't have any words for you right now. I have nothing to say." He said, "I am sad." And I think that right there is going to be the main priority of his emotions. Because we've never seen that from him before. Even when they were kicking his behind in the very first episode in the first season. And he had to come and get the batteries. We've never seen that happen. So I think, I know I'm going all over the place, he may take that step back. Or he could just be even more revengeful. I don't know. There's so many things of where this can go at this moment. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's definitely gonna be 2 steps back before he goes forward, because let's not forget there's the death of Famous that just happened, and he's probably going to be dealing with that. And there's probably another death coming soon after that, with his grandmother. So he's for a while maybe his focus will be off what he's trying to do, and then maybe by the end of the season we see him kind of make his play, perhaps. But yeah, he's got. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying this is how he could be susceptible to Unique. Because I'm going back at that picture. This is how he ends up working with Unique. Maybe Unique knows what happened with Famous, because he's been in everybody's shadows, just leering and peeking and looking. Oh, I'm just randomly talking and thinking. That's it.
Yeah, Unique could know something. But Richard, did you have anything you wanted to add?
What was the question about Famous?
Yeah. What was the question? What were we talking about? Famous. We were talking about Famous just now, like about will Kanan will he be like a factor in the meeting, and also do you think he'll be distracted by Famous's death, and probably like maybe his mind will be out the game for a while or something, and he won't be paying attention to what's going on with Raquel.
Well, I think Kanan is definitely going to make it a point to try and find out what happened to Famous. He did tell his mom in this episode they were going to find out what happened to Famous, and they were also going to find out if somebody did something to Famous. So I feel like that is his goal, at least for the next couple episodes. And of course, Jukebox is there to back him up. We know Jukebox has no fear if she has to take somebody out. So I feel like, they are going to focus on that, I think, at least in the next episode. I don't know if it's for the rest of the season. But in terms of the question about the deal, we know that Quan does like Kanan. So he would definitely be the one that would potentially come to the table with him. But obviously, Stefano doesn't back Kanan. So there's a lot of things that I'm curious to see how they handle in the next episode in regards to that meeting, if that meeting is the next episode or the episode afterwards. But I will say this. We have to, again, go back to what happened with Terry in this episode. That, I think, is going to have a significant impact on Raquel moving forward because, again, they've already been losing business, and now you're losing one of the individuals that was helping you move your weight. So this is going to be a major issue going into that meeting, and I want to see how they tell that story.
Can I just piggyback here? She kept saying that he has a lot of connects. And so we don't know who those connects are. At this moment, she needs those connects. So I'm wondering, kind of piggybacking off of what you're saying, they're going to go out and find those connects because she doesn't really have anything at this moment, aside from like one person, or two people maybe. So that thing. But then I'm wondering then. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I'm gonna go after you. Continue.
No, I was gonna just say I'm wondering this: if those connects find out that Terry was murdered because technically of Raquel, will they now come after her?
Mm-hmm. I think that's a strong possibility. I also think that obviously David is going to be very going to be very scared to come anywhere near Marvin and Raquel. After this, he may be willing to look into trying to get into some type of witness protection or something. That's a major issue right there. And I obviously there's already a lot of attention, but the other thing about it is that Marvin is already under a lot of pressure because Raquel had told him to obviously deal with Terry. He went too far with that. She's still been waiting for Marvin to tell her who was this person we're looking for that took out our lawyer friend, Andre. So he hasn't really provided any. He hasn't been able to get any answers on that. So there's a lot of pressure on Marvin. But I think it's going to be a very bad argument coming up in the next episode when Raquel finds out he took out Terry. That's not going to be good. It will be some very good acting from both of them, but it's going to be a really bad situation for Marvin.
Dinner scene.
Oh yeah, there could be one other good dinner scene coming up because if something happens to grandma, then they're all gonna have to assemble and so there could be another good dinner scene coming. But yeah, great takes, everyone. Go ahead, Dana.
Speaking, okay, so about grandma, I just thought it was really interesting how Lulu showed up. And he was like, yeah, let me go see grandma. Let's get this good deed in, basically, like, so I can get into heaven. Let me get it, Like, he's the only, if you look at it so far, it seems to be that he's the only one not affected by this. So I find that to be very interesting. And how everyone looked at him and it was like, yeah, grandma needs around-the-clock care. We need to find someone. And then they all at the same time looked at Lulu. And he was like, what? Not me? I'm going to start drinking again with just, 1 hour with her. So I find that to be very interesting. And I don't know if it's because I think he's the baby of the family. So is it because he didn't have so much of all of that abuse with the mom? Because we do know that it was Marvin that technically raised everyone after the dad committed suicide. I'm thinking. So yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering. Is because he was the youngest, he was less impacted by the mother's actions, but at the same time, he is still equally detached from her. So that was an interesting little dynamic that they had there. So, but we saw the nurse. They got that white nurse.
Yeah. He's always felt very indifferent about her. Like he hasn't been too fond of her because I remember in a previous season when he actually went over to her place and like he's like, oh, you always want something, you always want money, you always like he's very he's not fond of her basically. So yes, some stuff happened there. He doesn't like her really. So yeah, he wasn't going to be the one to kind of stick around and take care of her. And like you said, that could be something that played into it, where he was the youngest. So it's like it's easier for him to feel detached because he knew her the least, I guess. Um, Whereas Marvin and Raquel, it was very deep rooted in them. Like so, yeah, all of that could be at play there. But I did want to talk about Lou next, and he did actually end up bonding with his new colleague, that he's working with on on B Rilla's album and stuff like that. So I wanted to ask you guys: is this do you see this as like maybe just a short term fling between them? Because like sometimes when you mix like business and relationships and love and all that stuff, it's never a good look. Like it always ends up affecting the business, and this is a business situation. So what you see really happening here, like with this little situation that they're going through? Because we didn't even really see B Rilla in this. Like it's like they were just spending a lot of time together, and then they were in bed together and all this, and it's like wow. So did you already forget about B Rilla? Like you're looking at another rap group and stuff like that. Like what's going on? So Dana, what's your thoughts?
Okay, so you already know that I hate when they do this because it's just so sloppy. It never ends up being right. And I just want you to focus. And that's right now should not be your focus. It's just a mess. And you notice that it was interesting that I think it was at her place because at his place, B Real is still there. Which, by the way, I spoke to the actor, the rapper actor party, which will be up next week. So we have that whole interview about his situationship and how he views his relationship with Lulu. Um, but I thought that we would probably pass that because he was trying to get clean, Lulu, and stay clean. And I'm sorry, but a woman right now at this time with him trying to not be addicted to anything is just crazy. And I blame her. Dana don't blame women, but I blame her because she was like, "Oh, that line that I said, it always works with the men." She knew what she was doing. I don't like her, so boo her. I don't have a problem with them going around scouting people because aren't they trying to build up a label? If you're saying that hip hop is the future, Famous is dead. Of course, they didn't know Famous was dead, but Famous was missing at that point, right? So for me, I need to make sure that I have one more than one source of income because that one income can go missing. So I'm going to choose a group of people and have multiple artists out there so that this can be the faces of hip hop. And even if you look at hip hop in general, granted, I don't know anything about hip hop, so please forgive me. But during that time when hip hop was hip hopping, didn't we have multiple artists out there that was like, here's this face, this is this face. Oh, look at this group over there. So I'm going to assume one, if you want to build up this new label, you should have more than one person. Also, do not put your eggs in one basket. B-Rilla can be taken out tomorrow, just in general. And it doesn't mean anybody has to murder him. The man can have a heart attack, a piano can fall on his head, he trip over a crack pipe and it inserts into his veins. We have seen Final Destination. So just have more than one person. I like the fact that they're scouting these different people. I like these different groups. I didn't have any problem with the first group that Lulu didn't like. I thought they was all lovely. But then once again, I know nothing about hip hop and music and rap. So I think that it was a good idea, and I like that. Just stop sleeping with people. Focus on yourself. That's it.
Oh yeah, and how about you, Richard? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, let me just say this. We knew that this was going to happen because we saw the season trailer and Lou was in bed with somebody. So yeah, we knew this would happen. Now let me clarify something you said though, Gary. This is not a love relationship. This is a lust. Clearly both characters, they said they haven't done this in a while, and that's what it was. She wanted to get him over there, and it was what it was. But I will say this, it's not a good idea to mix business and pleasure. Very interesting when they had the brief conversation and she brought up the fact and asked him about Jessica. And he said, no, that's been over with, because she basically has been doing her homework on Lou this entire time. And I kind of feel like that is where things are going to take a turn, because he had said, if there's anything you want to know about me, you just ask. But she's overstepping to find out all this other stuff about him. And obviously what we do know is Jessica will probably be back in the next episode because of the fallout with Famous passing. Probably going to want to try to talk to Lou about the situation. And, I don't know what's going to happen when that comes to a head. But I will say that, it's just not a good idea for Lou to get involved. He needs to be focused on. It is a good idea to grow the label. Like, I thought it was good that they were scouting, because, again, they're working together. They have to build that relationship. They have to build a roster of talent. That made sense. But you have to know when to keep it business and when to go in a different direction. And I kind of feel like it's going to get very messy with those two characters. One comment that I will make, though, in reference to the dialogue about Rizdi and the fact that she mentioned that she went to Brown and Rizdi was right there. They are 1,000% accurate on that, because when I was at RISD, Brown was right there, and it's totally normal for people from both schools to hang out, so on and so forth. So I know about that. They were very correct on that assessment. But you definitely got to be careful. So that's why I say we'll see what happens. But Lou definitely needs to be concerned. And again, we didn't see B-Rilla at all in this episode. I kind of want to know what he's going to think about Lou starting to get close to this woman, because especially if he's seeing that he's not progressing as an artist, his single's not getting out there, then he's going to ask questions. So it's definitely going to get messy. That's what I will say. So let's sit back and see what happens in the next episode.
In my interview with Party, we discussed that.
Oh, really? Okay, see? There you go.
Oh, streets need this interview. We need that interview. But it's definitely going to get messy. I feel like Richard obviously knows her as well. They went to school together, so he knows it's going to be trouble.
I don't know her, but I know some of them girls that was at Brown, and yes, they can be trouble. So you need to watch yourself.
Oh. Go ahead, Dana.
Well, go ahead, Dana. Yeah.
Do you think that we would end up getting kind of, because you remember how she was talking about the white rapper who has the mama who works at the law firm, and she was like, oh yeah, Brown, and then that's how we got the school thing. Do you feel that he is going to be someone of great importance, and that is why they technically kind of brought in Amani? What's her name? Amani? They brought her in so that she can handle not just the legality, but be more of that liaison of being able to talk to people from the law and this one over here, because she is going to try to use that common ground of that school to do that.
That is a phenomenal question. And to answer your question, Dana, yes, he's going to be the Eminem of the show. No, I'm just kidding. No, but he is important. But if you notice, she wants to be the only one dealing with him. And I could see a situation where Lou will try to overstep and talk with him. That also could cause the issue, because that's somebody who she figured she put in the work establishing the relationship. So if Lou tries to come in and try to step in her place to talk with the artist, that can cause a problem. That's probably something to look for. Well, go ahead.
I view that more of the mother, because of that educational background.
Yeah, okay.
Able to speak to her directly that way. Remember when she was like, "Oh, and what school did you go to?" She got all excited and everything. And he's like, "The school of whatever." I forgot what he said, but he didn't go to no school. So that right there, she was reading him and trying to find out what level he was on, so he can interact with the son perfectly fine. It's just that mama, don't touch the mama. Let me handle that, because of that level conversation that they're able to have.
That's a good point. I can see that. That would definitely be a conflict.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree. I can see a scenario where maybe he tries to overstep her, like maybe he gets his mind back on the business, and then he's like he wants to start doing business, and like I guess he kind of like maybe he'll see her as like his equal now, and it's like okay, I'm gonna go directly to this guy myself, and ask about these contracts or this budget or whatever. And she's like, why didn't you include me in this? Like, we're supposed to be in this together. I could totally see a situation like that. And then from B Rilla's side of things, we heard what he said in the last episode where he was like, if I'm by myself for too long, then I get into trouble. So if Lulu's not around, then so something could go wrong on his side. So there's that element to it as well. So I am interested to see where this goes. I do think it's probably a short-lived relationship. I don't see them being together long term. I see it going left.
Well,
yeah.
Wait a second, Gary. We need to clarify something before. We need to clarify something before we move on. You think this is a romantic relationship between these two characters? I don't see that at all.
Well, I just mean romantic in terms of like from a story's perspective. They're kind of they're having a moment together. I don't mean like it's like a full relationship or like it's just
Can I say something?
they're having.
Go ahead, Dana.
No, we have been through, what is it, 4 seasons? What season are we on?
Season 4.
What is it season? We are 4 seasons of this sad family. This family is sad. Why can't Lulu have his happy ending? Why can't that actually be his wife? Why can they not be the dynamic duo and stay together forever? And like Method Man and his wife who've been married for the last 65 years. Why can't that happen? Is he married? I don't know if he's married. I might just be saying random things. LL Cool J's married to that lady for the last 65 years. Why can't we have that? Why
I have an answer.
Always have the pain and the suffering. No, I don't like it. What?
My answer is because of who his family is. They're all destined to have a downfall. So don't worry. Lulu was next.
The people who know, I view it as this. Lulu is trying to break away from his family.
Yeah.
Who's to say that business does not become successful and we all move to LA and we never see the family again? He makes it. Everybody else doesn't. And we know that Kanan and Jukebox don't make it in the end. They make it now, but not in the end. They both die. Whether or not that was by his own decision, he still died at the end. What if the whole family goes off that way, except for Lulu? He makes it and he's a survivor because he's been through so much mentally with the whole thing. I want his happy ending. I want to hear it. Let him be happy with this little girl who I don't like. That's it.
And let me just make one comment. I would be totally fine with that. I like Malcolm Mays as an actor. So I don't mind him getting a happy ending because he damn sure didn't get a happy ending in Snowfall. So there you go.
Yeah, that's a good point. He does deserve a happy ending, but let's be real here. Unless you're Tariq St. Patrick, there are no happy endings in Power. So I'll just say that.
Tariq is miserable. He's sitting up there running for his life. Well, what's your face? The little boy, Braden. He still doesn't have a happy ending.
He's not running for his life. He's going to help Tommy. He's at the top of the game right now. Like he's the ghost.
Oh, is that how it happened?
The ghost in the machine.
I don't remember what happened. We're going to talk about Power Force a little bit later, but I don't remember. Oh, but that's not the point. The point is he wasn't happy because the little girlfriend Lauren that almost died, and it wasn't he with somebody else, and she's a hot mess, so he's not happy either. And his dad is dead.
Yeah, I guess so. But okay, let's talk about Force then, because there was a little announcement right before we started, recording. And did you want to be the one to give the news, or do you want me to to go ahead. I see you pulled up the laptop, so I guess you like. I'm going to give you the floor, but basically, shouts to Joseph Sokoa. He is like I love how invested he is at playing Tommy, to the point that he's putting out important things on his Instagram and stuff. Like he really loves and embodies this character. So big shouts to him. But yeah, so I am going to give the floor to Dana right now, so she could give the announcement. Are you ready, Dana? Do you want to? Or I could just give it
Okay.
now and we
Okay.
talk about it. But
I can talk about. I have to pull up the pictures. Um. Okay. Stars and Power Book Force 4. And Joseph Sakura announced across all of their social media platforms today that not only we already know that Force is coming back, but we got our pictures from kind of like a first look at what's going on with the season upcoming, and it shows that Tommy, you know, he is still back in the Force, taking things by force, and that he is on a mission to take over the Chicago drug world. Alliances formed and competitors become targets as turf war heats up and Tommy must race to stay one step ahead of everyone. After setting off a chain reaction of violence in pursuit of his ambition, Tommy must decide what he is willing to sacrifice to finally ascend to the throne of the kingpin. Now we also know that unofficially that Force is going to kind of merge itself into Power Book 2 Ghost, where we do know that uh, 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 Baby Tariq and Braden will be making their appearances on Force, as we said before during their finale. They're going up to Chicago. Remember, we had a phone call where it was like at the very end of everything that happened with Tariq St. Patrick. He was like, said, "Hello, who this? Oh, I'll be right there," which means he going to Chicago, which comes a very long way of their relationship because Tommy was in New York to kill not only Tasha, but I think he would have been perfectly fine with also killing Tariq as well. But we buried that. They're all good now. That's his little uncle. And he's stepping in and he's making sure. Remember, he let him know, oh, I have a brother, which the brother was like, I don't want anything to do with you anymore. But he had a brother at that moment. So maybe with Tariq and Braden, they can come in and talk to the family, the blood family, and be like, hey, maybe we can come back. You don't have to be a part of this life, but I would like to meet you as well. I would like to know what's going on in your life. And of course, we have Tommy's mama, which I believe is still alive. Tommy's mama, and then she loves herself some Tariq as well. So she is obviously going to probably take him under his wing and take Braden under the wing as well of what's going on. So I am going to say something that I have not said since before the first season dropped. I am looking forward to this show. I think that it could actually be very good. I think that we lost its way for a little bit, but now it's coming, and finding its way. And I love to see crossovers. I'm a crossover person. Give us some new storylines. Give us some characters that we know and love because, the characters and stories that we got originally wasn't that strong. Respectfully, that has nothing to do with anybody's acting skills. So I like the fact that we are merging these two together, and I look forward to what's going to happen. If anything, anyone else would like to jump in and have their little opinions of what's going on, please let me know. Well, just jump in. Don't let me know.
oh yeah, so I'm gonna be short and sweet. So like, yeah, I mean, it's coming this fall. That was kind of my guess. I thought, I figured it would come this later this fall. I'm just wondering what will come following that. I'm guessing season five, Raising Kanan, will be around the same time next year, perhaps, because we know that Origin is going to be the next show, and I believe this is the last season of of Force. So yeah, I'm just wondering what the gap is going to be between the shows and stuff like that. But that does make sense that Force is back this fall. I do believe that this has the potential to be the best season of Force. Just the way everything's aligned. There's a lot of teasing of Kane being in this because there was a lot of pictures of Joseph Sikora and the actor that plays Kane. So there's a lot of like hinting at him possibly being in this series, and of course Tariq. Tariq with that phone call, it's alluding to the fact that he's gonna come and assist his uncle Tommy. So yeah, I'm cool to see where they take it. I'm interested. I'm interested to see where they take it. Force, it hasn't been my favorite of the spin-offs, but this this has the potential to be a really really good one because I trust the talent behind it. You got Gary Lennon, you got Joseph Sikora, you got a lot of other talented actors, and I do think we're out of that we're out of that little period where there was a writer's strike and stuff like that. So I think the writing probably will be a lot better in this season. So yeah, I'm interested. I'll say that. So go ahead, Richard.
Well, some very, very interesting opinions. I think, obviously, congrats to Joseph Sikora, Gary Lennon stars. I'm glad that he made the announcement, even though we knew this show was coming back. I think we were questioning when. Now we know it's the fall. I would look forward to them giving us an actual date, which I'm sure we will know by the end of summertime. Yeah, or maybe even before that. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the season. I have some interest. I don't know if I agree 100% with what Gary said that this could be the best season. I need to see to believe that. But I am definitely interested. And I think, yeah, like you said, the writing, it could be a lot better. There's a lot of things they have to wrap up storyline-wise. And just to clarify one thing, when Joseph Sikora did announce that he would be returning, he did say this is the last season of Force in Chicago. So that is why I want to see where exactly is he going to go then. Is he going to go back to New York or is he going to go somewhere completely different? So that's what I want to see. A lot of questions, a lot of intrigue. And I will say this as a little bit of advice to stars, even though they probably will not listen to this advice or watch this podcast. If they are going to have other people in the show, such as Tariq, such as Kane, I would like to see them teasing stuff as well as we get closer to the show coming out. They don't need to outright say they're going to be in the show because I think it'll be a good surprise, but I would like them to suggest they are working on something else that is power related. But we have to wait and see. Because I thought there was already a tease. They are working on other stuff, but they didn't really elaborate on that any further. So I look forward to seeing how they roll this out. But no, I look forward to seeing the show. Yeah, and I'm curious to hear what everybody else who comments on this show thinks about Force returning and whether or not you're looking forward to the show as well.
And I just want to piggyback for 2 seconds in here. They did release some photos, so it's not much. But here we have Tommy, obviously with a group of people. Of course, we just see Tommy there, and it looks like it could be a diamond in the back. I'm not sure. I'm half blind anyway.
No, that's not Diamond.
That's not Diamond. So we have also Tommy and that guy.
Vic.
Name's Vic. We have Vic.
The character that I said needs to get taken out. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what happens with Vic.
Since season one. I think he's like the Dre of the franchise at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's still there. And then lastly, we have Tommy with looks like the guy who
Miguel. Yeah, that's Miguel. Yeah.
That looks Miguel. So those are the 3 photos that dropped there. But of course, on not just Joseph's Instagram, but Giovanni. Is his name Giovanni? I'm probably the one who plays
Braden. Yeah.
If you go on his Instagram, he has 15,000 videos of the cast kind of just being together. And I just want to say one thing about when we do get more spinoffs. I do like the fact that we go to different cities. I am someone who lives in New York City. I am literally when right there when they start filming some scenes. I'm tired of New York City, respectfully. I'm tired. Chicago wasn't really hitting for me. Sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody, but it wasn't hitting for me. Can we go someplace else that's preferably not cold? Give me something that's not cold.
Well,
I know we were supposed to go to Miami.
Well, let me just make this comment because I know Gary will be devastated. If they were to visit Atlanta, that would be interesting, but Gary will not like the fact because Little Dirk will not be on that show. Absolutely not.
See, I want to see a show that's not even touched because BMF is Atlanta. So all these things that we have in the great land of America, give us something. Something.
Yeah, it's a shame we won't get any more Dirk. I wanted to see more Dirk. But yeah, Atlanta will be good. Maybe they'll do a BMF and go to Mexico or something. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
Hopefully not. I mean, I don't know, but hey, I wouldn't mind seeing some of the BMF people that can act show up on a power show. The others, they can find something else to do.
Well, the only BMF they can cross over with is Raising Kanan because they're both 90s.
Raising Kanan and maybe Power Origins. They can be on that show. There'll be some playing other characters, but that's the only two, until they announce another spinoff of Power in the Power universe.
But who would get that spinoff? That should be really interesting. Unique. I mean, it's the only one I can think of is probably Unique. And it's not Breeze. I don't think we're getting Breeze.
I wouldn't mind seeing a Unique spinoff, but if there is a Unique spinoff, I need to see him crash out in every single episode. That's my only request. We need to see that happen in every episode. He needs to throw a temper tantrum and lose his mind.
This is why I want him to shoot up the meeting. I want him to go full Godfather and be like, surprise. And then you just have Chris Red over at the side, horrified. Like, what did I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless at this point, but yeah, we do have to wrap it up now. So we'll get to some final thoughts real quick, and then we are gonna head out now. So Richard, did you have any final thoughts?
Oh no, my final thoughts. Great episode of Raising Kanan. Excellent acting. Great writing as always. And yes, one last comment to make. The music, the soundtrack, phenomenal. The scene where Marvin is in there and he's contemplating whether or not to do what his mom wants. They're playing a very famous tune that has been used in the Fugees song Ready or Not. Fantastic soundtrack, I have to say. But yeah.
Yeah, I love that choice of song. And I would like in my head, I was like, didn't they play this already in something else, like in another season of Raising Kanan? But then I figured out where it was, where another show played it. I won't mention it. I don't want to take the praise off of them for the song choice. But
okay,
yeah, it was a good song choice, especially for the moment. It really fit. And yeah, so and this show has great music overall. Like I'm a big fan of the whole 90s era of hip hop. 90s and early 2000s. So yeah, I love some of the music choices in this show. So yeah, I agree. Go ahead, Dana. Any final thoughts?
I thought this episode was pretty good in terms of setting everything up for what we can expect for the future. I did like the line where it says the oldest friends have the deepest scars. So we are definitely going to get a rageful, slightly insane Kanan once now that Famous is gone and he's going to enact his revenge. I don't think there's any turning back when it comes to him right now. And we could also end up getting a tag team with Jukebox, and she likes to seek vengeance upon people all of a sudden. So I think that is we're gonna get that team up finally happen, and she's gonna get introduced. Well, I can't even say she's introduced because she's desensitized because she's been nothing but introduced to the drug game. But in terms of like doing this on her own accord and fully stepping into it, I think it's not gonna be through the introduction of her father, but probably through Kanan in terms of getting this revenge for whomever the killer may be. So I thought overall this was a very decent episode. I liked everything that they had. I like to get the whole fact that we got a very raw Kanan, and we kind of even got a raw 50 Cent. It was a really great voiceover situation. So overall, I like to see what's gonna happen. I hope that Raquel becomes less messy because she was told off about how less how shaky she is. Um, so I look forward to what's to come.
Yep. So yeah, definitely chime in the comments once everyone listens to the show. I do want to give a few quick shout outs. So shouts to CJ Harrison, shouts to Tracy Lee, of course, shouts to Rainy J, shouts to Keish NYC, shouts to Demarcus, and shouts to Jeremiah. Big shouts to the people who regularly comment and leave great comments as well. Great thoughts and theories. So thank you for your continued support of the show. And yeah, we will be back next week, of course, to recap episode 6. So look out for that. And yeah, everybody take care of yourselves.
And we have a lot of more interviews.
Oh yeah, look out for those interviews as well. Yeah. Which one was the last one that came out? Patina Miller. Patina Miller.
It was the one with Patina Miller. Yes, Patina Miller was the last one.
Yeah, so
We
that's
have
up
we
there
have
now.
Snaps and Pops, and we have the whole cast, and we have
Party is next
Party.
week. Yeah.
Yep, and we're getting some more. So. Woo.
Awesome. So yeah, we'll see you next week. Take care, people.